Excuse me. Alrighty, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Unlock Your Freedom podcast. So excited to learn from Natasha Bazilevych today, and please forgive me for saying that with a Texas pronunciation. Hopefully I honored that somewhat. But what's up, Natasha? How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much, Kevin. It's such a pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah, I'm pumped to chat with you again. You're easy to hang out with. You have such a great attitude, and you know lots of cool stuff. So this is gonna be a lot of fun.
Oh, for sure. Yep.
Well, tell everybody
Let's make it
a little
fun.
bit. Yeah. Oh, well, how could we not, right? But I know Natasha's a public speaker, public speaking coach, trainer, a marathoner, founder and president at ChangeView Academy. And well, tell us a little bit more about you and how you like to serve the folks in the wonderful world we live in.
Yeah, it is a wonderful world. And of course, I have lots of dreams about making this world better, just like don't we all, or at least those of us who are listening to this podcast and want to learn and improve and want to grow. But when I was, well, it's really interesting to know when to start, because if I go back, like, where do I go back? Where I was born, where I lived, where I am now, because I'm actually from Ukraine and right now I'm in the US. I had to come here 2 weeks before the war started, when I was not sure if it actually would start, but my friends all said, you better come now, so that just in case, you can always go back. And I have a great family and friends here in the US, and my business is here, but I've lived most of my life in Ukraine. And so now I'm in Minnesota. But about 6 years ago, when I decided to start my business, and in Delaware, where a lot of entrepreneurs do that, it was an idea that then failed and made me pivot. And this is a very important part of a lot of people's journey, I would say, is be able to fail and then check that box. Okay, I failed once. Good, let's keep going. Okay, I failed twice. Now is the time to succeed, because we need to fail before we succeed. We need to learn and grow. And I first thought that I would start an online school for teaching English in China to Chinese students. But that idea failed because, China lives in a totally different cyberspace. They don't have Facebook, don't have Google or Instagram or Twitter. They have their own social media, and it was really hard to market. So I changed that idea, even though I made lots of friends and have some partnerships still with China. But then I switched to teaching presentation skills and other business skills to the rest of the world, because this is something that I've been doing for 15 years, even before I started my business. So it's what I love doing, because speaking in public, I think it's a skill that we all need to develop. Everybody needs to speak in public, even if sometimes you speak in front of your friends. That's kind of a public speaking. And I think it's important not to have fear, but to be able to speak and express yourself. And that's why I saw that a lot of people were interested in this topic, and I started focusing on that and teaching it.
Wow, that's really cool. So at the public speaking thing, that's one of the biggest fears for folks across the board. Every time they do a study, and you read it on the internet, so that has to be true if they put studies on the internet, right? But joke, not joke, but public speaking is always, if not number one, it's one or two. And so, have you always been a confident speaker, or is that something you grew into?
Oh no, not, for sure not. And well, first of all, I've got to say, is definitely not number one, but we should even question, because I think that there was a joke from Jerry Seinfeld when he said that it's number one and death is number two. And remember that joke, maybe? That he says, I don't agree, because you probably would rather be at a conference than no. Well, his joke was something like, people would rather be in the coffin than reading a eulogy during the funeral, something like that, if I remember it correctly. But the idea is that for sure, public speaking is a fear, or it's an anxiety for a lot of people, or at least a lot of people get nervous before they speak. I was shy, and I was invisible and not seen, and did not know how to speak all my teenage years. And then I started working on my confidence after one of my best friends said, when will you stop being so shy, at one point in my life? And that was a turning point for me. I started writing I still have that journal where I wrote, I want to develop confidence. And I started writing points, 1, 2, 3, how I can do it. And it's so interesting. I was 14 years old, but I was a bit of a nerd. I read a lot. So I started developing these ideas of how, because I want to be a journalist and I want to travel the world, how I can become a confident personality. And so since then, I've done a lot of work on myself, and I know it's possible to develop confidence and then also to speak in public.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's like you didn't just start out being, a phenomenal speaker and a coach who knew, how to help other people step into their greatness, especially with their voice. I always talk about this a lot, but I dropped speech in college twice because I was afraid to speak in front of 8 people one time, and there's 20 in the other class, and eventually I took it again and did okay, right? Now I was spoken in front of thousands of people, and it's no big deal, right? So we can get better at things. I think that's a really beautiful example that you just shared.
Yeah, we can develop it.
Yeah. So, and I mean, you don't have to have anything certain to show up. It's just being your most authentic self is really powerful. So tell us about your favorite types of peeps to work with. Who do you really love serving?
Well, I love serving people. If we talk in general, of course, then I can also go into more specifics. But in general, I love to serve people who love to grow, who love to learn. Because if it's someone who is dreading this training or coaching or any of this new information, who looks bored and looks like it's not really interesting to them, well, that's really a horrible person to work with or teach. Want people to really be interested in it and be excited about the stuff that you're excited about, because I'm passionate about public speaking and presentation skills, and I want to share it with people. That's why, for me, growth mindset is an important element in people that I love to work with. But specifically, I work with entrepreneurs and I work with corporate managers, executives, so basically leaders who want to develop their presentation skills.
Yeah, I love that you touch on the growth mindset, because it's the other option's a fixed mindset, and fixed mindset, there's no openness to being better, and it's frustrating for everybody involved.
Exactly.
Is there a client transformation story you could share with us to help really illustrate how you impact folks?
Oh yes, I have the beautiful story of my client who joined my program. I have this Speak with Power program, which I might not even launch again, but it was an online program for several weeks with group coaching. And she wanted to develop her presentation skills and learn how to speak in public. And I said, oh, you all guys need to go live in the group. For her, it was really hard. So at one point, she calls me and she says, Natasha, I'm starting to worry about my own health, because every time I need to go live, I take pills. I have tachycardia. It's hard for me to breathe. Maybe it's just not for me. And I said to her, is this something you really want? So your dream, and her dream was to start a Spanish speaking club and an online school for Spanish learners. So she's a Spanish teacher. So she wanted to learn to teach students all over the world and do it online and increase her audience. And so I said, well, are you ready to give up on your dream? Because you cannot do it without speaking in public. You would have to speak on social media, to speak in the meetings, in groups. You have to do it. So are you ready to now say, okay, I'll give up on my dream. I'm never going to do what I really want to do. I'll just go back to teaching a few people in the classroom, and that's it. And then she thought a little bit and she said, no, okay, let's try. She went live once, she went live twice. Then she started speaking. She joined a Toastmasters, Spanish speaking Toastmasters clubs. She started speaking in front of big groups of people on Zoom. So then she created her Instagram account and she grew it to more than 1,000 people in a few months. She started going live there and creating these videos and posting them almost every day. And now she created her Spanish club, she created her school, and she's now working on also creating online courses that she will be selling. So not just teaching, but already some like passive income to sell. So that is important. That is incredible, the way she grew. She went from taking pills and having tachycardia, becoming it basically by exposure therapy, by just going live and doing something. So you have to act to overcome that fear. And so now, yes, she is successful.
Wow, what a great transformation. Like, what a gift to really just help her create new perspective. Because I mean, that's like not just speaking, it's like anything we want to get a new result in, we have to make a new decision. And it's like these judgments that people make, about the way they are, and then they work to prove themselves right, even if it's not like something they want. Mm-hmm. And like the really cool thing is, you know what, like things are going to change. So whether you hold on or not, so just let go and make a new decision. Like simple, not necessarily easy. Really powerful. Could you tell us a little bit about the ChangeView Academy?
Yeah, well, that is the company that I started in 2016, ChangeView Academy. And like I said, first, the idea was to teach English to the Chinese students. And then we pivoted. And that is also, there's a great lesson in that. Whenever you feel like you failed, you feel like something's not working out, well, be ready to change the direction a little bit. You don't have to give up. You just pivot. Everybody knows this word after the pandemic. Like pivoting, everybody's pivoting. So that's what I had to do. But if that happened before the pandemic, I think it was 2017-ish or even 18. And then I focused on entrepreneurs, and I started teaching corporate trainings and focused more on presentation skills. Because before that, I also taught habit building, creativity, leadership, time management, planning, goal setting, and team building, and emotional intelligence. So all kinds of personal development or business skills. And then I focused on just presentation skills because this is my biggest passion, I would say.
Very cool. So what are consistency creates mastery. And so I would just be curious what types of maybe exercises or things people could do to improve their speaking, whether it's, like speaking regularly or just, working on voice warm-ups or whatever it may be.
Yeah, well, so let's be a little bit more specific. Are you talking about voice? Because there are specific voice exercises that I can share. Or is it speaking to overcome a fear or nervousness? Or is it speaking to have specific structure of their message and make sure that it's clear? So what do you say? What are you more interested in?
Whichever is your favorite to talk about, because all three of those sounded really interesting. So
yeah, well, my favorite is voice. That is what I also, now I'm trying to even niche down more and teach people more on voice and energy, because voice is such an important element of delivery. When you are sharing, like right now, even for example, it's just voice that people can hear mostly if they're not watching the video, but can deliver the message in such a wonderful and beautiful way that people can almost visualize things. When we listen, when we hear, we can see it. And if we're not using our voice correctly, then the message will not be clear. Then people will not hear if it's not loud enough, if we don't project it right, or if we don't articulate things correctly. Then we need to really work on that. And voice comes down to 4 elements. We have this acronym that I use, CAVE: clarity, audibility, variety, and energy. And so clarity is how we articulate, how we enunciate or emphasize our voice to make it clear, make sure that when we say things, then people understand what we're saying, because we all have accents. You said that you have Texas accent. Well, I have Eastern European accent, but people in New York have New York accent. Or here in Minnesota, people have Minnesota accent. And of course, in the South, there's some, my best friends in Oregon, they say that they don't have an accent, which I tell them, you do. Everybody does. It just might be a different way of saying things from other people in America. For example, in Great Britain also. It's different accents in the northern part or in southern part. So the thing is, articulate, make sure that even though we all have accents, make sure that people understand clearly what you're saying. Then the second part is audibility. Well, now we're talking about opening our diaphragm, opening our throat, our mouth, so that the voice comes with ease and it is projected towards the audience. We carry it forward. We don't pitch it back into our throat, but we actually carry it forward and people can hear it well. And I can whisper, but people can hear it far away in the audience. So there are exercises. I can share a few exercises about that. But then also variety. That's when we play with different paces of our voice or volume, so we can speak like a whisper, or we can speak loud when we get excited and we speak fast, or we slow down. Pitch, so we can use we can use high pitch or we can use low pitch, and then the meaning will be different. Because when you use the high pitch voice, you're connecting with your audience. It's for speaking with children, it's for connection. But when you want to persuade someone, when you want to show dominance, you use the low pitch voice. Or when you just say a statement that is really important, you want to add emphasis to it and heaviness, the weight to that statement, you use the low pitch voice. So it's really important to play with our voice like you play an instrument, a musical instrument. And finally, the last one is energy. That's when it's important for us to understand what kind of energy. And sometimes we need to dial it up a little or dial it down, depending on our energy. And that is what I'm writing a book now on 4 speaking energies. So I will be able to share with the audience later when I have even more on that. But I divide them into 4 categories: fire, water, air, and earth, and help people understand how to define it and then how to develop each one of their energies.
Well, you can't just give us a peek and not go deeper on that. So go a little deeper if you can.
Well, like I kind of even gave a little idea. So there are these four speaking energies. Fire, it's someone crazy. I am fire. I am a person who is also a personality. Fire, I'm fast, I'm enthusiastic, I'm really energetic, and sometimes I speak too fast, I can speak too loud. So that's fire. And that's why I need to even dial it down a little bit, but still be myself. But maybe sometimes I need to calm myself down when I speak so that my message is clear. And then an important thing to understand is that each of these energies are powerful. It's like natural power. We have nuclear power, we have hydropower, we have wind power, we have bioenergy. So everything is powerful and strong, but it's important to know what is my speaking energy so that I tap into it and I develop it and I don't try to be like someone else. Because if I want to just be like Earth, my best friend, one of my best friends, she is this personality who is calm and she uses a low pitch voice. Each word falls with weight. It's grounded. There's some kind of heaviness in it. And so she is Earth. And I remember I was thinking years ago, I want to be like her. I need to be calmer personality. I'm just too hyper. I'm just too fast. And then I understood that's me. That's who I am. And we all need to embrace who we are, grow, develop, know our strengths, and then improve them even more. But we shouldn't try to be like someone else. Then there's air, let's say. It's someone who is quiet by nature, and maybe they used to be shy, or maybe they're still shy. And their voice is soft and their speaking is soft, weightless. If Earth is heavy and grounded, air is weightless. It's the opposite. But it's so soothing and so calm and also not really fast. Maybe sometimes they could go fast when they get nervous, but mostly it's this soothing way. And a lot of times these people a lot of times are introverts and maybe shy, and they think, I'm not a good speaker. Nah, look at all these great speakers. They're all so energetic, and they try to be like Tony Robbins, and it's so fake. I know people like that. I have some clients like that, and they understood that, yes, it doesn't feel natural to them when they try to be like Gary Vee or Grant Cardone or Tony Robbins, be like this. It's not them. So it's important to embrace and know that there is so much power in this kind of voice, in this way of speaking. See, for me, it's very unnatural. I'm just imitating it right now. But when people speak like that, and a lot of people like this, they make guided meditations, and you can hear their voice soothing, and it's beautiful, and it's really calming and peaceful when they speak. I had one person like this on my podcast also. So, and then water is also fast. It's also energetic, but it's not as crazy and intense as fire. Water is a melody. It's like a song. And when people, it's Martin Luther King, I have a dream, I da da da. So he speaks like he's singing a song, and he's delivering it with this rhythm. So a lot of people who are kind of this neutral. So water is pretty balanced because it has softness to it. It just doesn't have too much weight like earth, but it has softness to it like air, and it has speed and energy and enthusiasm like fire. So these are the 4 energies.
Wow. So interesting. So anybody who's listening, how do they discover which one of the 4 they are, in addition to reading your book when it comes out?
Yes,
I do it right now.
Yes, because I am working now on, I'm planning to have a quiz, a test for people to find their own speaking energy. But what you can do right now is you can watch different speakers, and you can see who you identify with, whose style feels like yours. And you can try then. You can watch Tony Robbins and go and try speaking like this. Don't imitate, don't be like someone else, but just try to understand yourself better, because this is super important. I want everybody to speak in their way, unique way, your style. Don't try to be like someone else. Just learn from someone else. You can model them. You can see what works for you and then embrace your own. So watch Tony Robbins, Gary Vee, and see, is that your style? Maybe not. Watch, what's his name? Churchill. Churchill is earth. Brene Brown, she is earth. We have Barry Baumgartner, she is earth. So if it's a woman, usually they would be these really strong, dominating, low pitch voice kind of women. Men, they will have also low pitch voice, and it's like each word is falling on the ground. So that is earth. So listen to different speakers and feels like you. Or when you try to speak like that, it feels natural to you, because we all have elements of each of those speaking energies. It's not like we're only this one. I'm only fire and I'm never like air. But see, sometimes if I want to attract people's attention to the message and it's something super important, I will speak like air. Or if I want to persuade, I will speak like earth. I will talk and I will say one sentence or 2 like that. It's just that for those people, it's natural. So they always speak like it. Even with their friends, they sometimes speak like that. But for everyone else, we can develop our style so that we are natural in it. So we tap into all the power that it has, but then we can use other speaking energies in our toolbox, in our way of delivering the message, so that there's variety, so that it's more interesting, and so that we develop our mastery. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. That's really fascinating. Gosh, I could talk about that all day, but I want to shift gears because I want to talk about marathons a little bit too, because I know you've ran 7 marathons and a couple of handfuls of half marathons as well, and all kinds of other things I'm sure to go in with that. But what was your favorite marathon to run?
Oh, that's a very easy question. New York.
Yeah.
I ran New York in 2018. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I ran New York right around then too. I can't remember if it was 2018 or not. And I say ran, I use that word loosely. I had to walk a couple of times. That was a hard one. It was pretty phenomenal. What was your favorite part about it?
People. That's
Yeah.
also easy, people. And you know, I ran in many different countries, and I ran in Duluth. So in America, this was my second marathon because I ran in Duluth in Minnesota before that in 2015. And also there was amazing support. A lot of people in the streets bringing stuff, bringing
That's
food
Minnesota.
out.
They're so nice. Everybody.
Yes.
Uh,
People, that was unbelievable. People were bringing out brownie, so they just baked stuff, you know, and they got out into the street with all of the brownie in a dish. Then some people brought out beer and in a pump, you know, and so they would just like give it to you. There were some really crazy things here in Minnesota, but yeah, super, super nice and very hospitable and giving. In New York, though, the masses of people in the streets, it was just everywhere. I don't think that there was a section, maybe one or two little sections when there were no people. But other than that, crowds of people, when you run on the course on both sides, cheering, and that sound and that support, that presence of people, I had goosebumps. Probably for like 70% of my running, I had goosebumps. And it was such a happy time. I was with my best friend and we were running. The weather was amazing. And then it started sprinkling at the end, but it was just also being, New York is my happy place. And so just being there and then running, it was such an incredible experience.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt for like the first half of it, and then the second half, I felt a lot different. I felt like it was so hard. Oh,
What
gosh.
happened?
Well, foolishly, I was playing hockey like a week before I went to run the marathon, and like I just felt weird. I twisted my knee, and so like I was having some issues with that, and and then I was just so excited because all the people, I think I just ran faster than I should have for the first half marathon, but it was amazing. Like everybody was like, the whole course had just massive amounts of people, and I haven't seen so many places in New York. I got to see that day. You know, you run through all 5 boroughs, and that was really cool.
Exactly.
And it was really cool to finish in Central Park. I mean, it was a really well done, beautiful race. I just actually, it was 2016 that I did it. But it's really cool. One of my people in one of the mastermind I host is running it this year, and she lives in New York, and so I'm excited to hear what her journey is, because like everybody that I've talked to that's done it has the same kind of experience that you and I did. It was just like really pretty impactful, life-changing thing.
Absolutely. Yes. And you know, this thing that you said about running fast, that's actually a lesson for speakers as well, because we're so excited, let's say about a marathon, right? So we come there and music, so many people, adrenaline, and it's so hard for me to stop myself, or to slow down, because I know that I shouldn't really rush and run fast at the beginning, but because there's so much energy and enthusiasm, then I go fast. And then also by the middle, it's much harder. Then I also slow down, and a lot of times I don't make my time. But it's the same in speaking. When we start, a lot of times we're nervous, we are excited, and usually that's the same, nervous and excitement, but there's just a lot of that energy, either nervous energy or any kind of energy and enthusiasm at the beginning of the speech. So we rush through the beginning, we go fast, and we need, just like in the marathon, in speech also, we need to not start too fast, but have either the same rhythm or start normally, so that then you can speed up when there is something exciting you are sharing, and then you slow down again when you want people to pay attention. Then you speed up when there's some climactic moment, and then you slow down. So it's really important to use this kind of pacing in running and in speaking.
Yeah, that was a really great analogy. I really like that. And I think that has always been one of the challenges in running races, is just not starting too fast. I always think of like Braveheart, it's like you're charging down the hill to get into battle, but it's so much more conducive just to like speed up as you go. And it's a lot more fun to pass people than to be passed while you're walking too. But we're all a work in progress. So
yes, for sure.
Let's do this. Let's do a little bonus round here at the end. I got a couple of questions that I like to ask everybody, and just a quick question and a quick answer. Easy peasy. And then you're on your way back to Minnesota. And shout out to people in Minnesota. I have some great friends up there, and and it's just, everybody's just so kind and just a really cool place. So
Yeah.
I'm grateful it exists, and I'm grateful I'm not going to be there in the winter with you guys.
It's beautiful here, so much snow.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It is very beautiful, but definitely get to bust out all the winter wear. In Texas, we have lots of winter wear we never wear, but that's the deal. All right. So what would be one of your favorite pieces of mindset advice to share with somebody?
There's so much about mindset that we should talk about. A favorite piece of mindset advice is, let's say, I'm just choosing my favorite. Because the easy thing is to say, believe in yourself and believe that you can do it. But I really want to go deeper and say a lot of people have imposter syndrome. Speakers, not speakers, but imposter syndrome is such a common thing. And we sometimes think that it's really bad. So we hate it and we don't talk about it, or we don't think about it. We have some negative attitude. But it's really important to not throw it on the side, but to understand where it comes from. Why do you have that self-doubt? And dig deeper, because you've got to believe in yourself, of course. But before you can believe in yourself and believe that you can do something, it's important to dig deeper and know, okay, where does that self-doubt and this why, who am I to do it? Where does that come from? And one of my friends said, give it a name, even give this imposter syndrome a name. It's almost like it's your alter ego when it comes to you, and start talking to it. So this is a totally different way of thinking. It's not my tip necessarily. I heard it from someone else, but it's an interesting way of looking at an imposter syndrome or self-doubt. And just see it as this not very smart friend or not very strong friend who you maybe need to sometimes talk to and say, hey, you know what? That's all right. I understand that you're just worried about us, that you think we can't do it because maybe it's dangerous, it's new, it's uncomfortable, it's a totally new area. Speaking is so scary, because I will be standing there in front of all other people, and that's why you, imposter syndrome, this little alter ego, are coming and trying to tell me something because you are protecting us. So look at it differently, and then start digging deeper and understanding it, and that will help you overcome self-doubt and believe in yourself better.
Yeah, think different. That's pretty powerful advice.
It was my long answer, huh?
Oh, it was great. I mean, communication's your number one strength, so use it, right?
Yes.
No, it's a superpower. Yeah, it's great. We were right there with you. All right, what's a favorite book to read, recommend, give away?
Well, my absolutely favorite book to read, and I don't know if I would recommend it because it's very individual. It's The Count of Monte Cristo, and I read it many times in different languages, and my dream is to read it in French. I think that there is so much in it. I just love it, absolutely. I enjoy it because it's also fiction. I don't really read fiction that much, but I recently read it and enjoyed it. But of course, if we talk about some educational books, I will say The Miracle Morning, because it changed my life, and I would recommend
is really
it.
good. So is it Miracle Equation?
I read Miracle Equation too. So Hal Elrod, for those who don't know. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's super easy to find that. I mean, Count of Monte Cristo too. I don't think there's many people that haven't really loved that book if they have the opportunity to read it or even watch the movie. I mean, the movie's even good.
Yeah. There are lots of movies.
A lot more dense, obviously. But all right, what does freedom mean to you here on the Unlock Your Freedom podcast?
Yes, well, freedom for me is the ability to basically do what you want, when you want, how you want to do it. But there is also responsibility in freedom. And that's why I understand freedom as this wise way of using all the opportunities that we have in life and help other people as well use their freedom in the best way possible.
Very cool. So speaking of helping other people, last question, where can people go to learn more about you, Natasha?
People can go to my website, natashabazilevych.com. So I know it's a mouthful, but I'm pretty sure that there will be a link in the show notes. natashabazilevych.com. And you can also find me on social media as well. But I think on the website, if you want, you can get my free public speaking 101 course, you guys, and start learning. It's a video course that you can just download and learn public speaking.
Oh, so cool. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to share with us today. And I know probably a lot of folks made it to the end with this because this was pretty insightful, and you're a lot of fun to hang out with. You could do some voiceover work, I think, if you wanted to, and you'd entertain a lot of people. You have such a great energy and just a really beautiful spirit shining through. So thanks for coming and connecting with us and sharing your genius. One last thought for everybody before we go.
Oh, one last thought. If you want to get better at something, if you want to achieve your dream, if you want to achieve your biggest goal, act. Don't wait. Don't fear. Just act. If there is a fear of whatever, you can do it by exposure therapy. You can do it by facing it, actually. If there's a dream, start going. So always acting on your dream, on your goal, and on your desire will bring you closer to achieving it. That was something that I learned, and I've seen how it works in my life. Stop dreaming, thinking, planning, start acting.
Yeah, that's really powerful. If you get into action, you get feedback, right? It's maybe one more way not to do it, but at least you know.
Make mistakes, fail, but act.
Yeah, and don't take yourself too seriously along the way. Have grace. I think that's pretty simple way to really start making things happen. All right.
Cool.
Man,
yeah.
Amazing. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
My pleasure. And thank you guys for being here. We love you guys. And if you found some value in this, share it out to somebody you think may benefit from Natasha's message, and definitely connect with her because she's the real deal. So thanks, guys. We'll see y'all next time on the Unlock Your Freedom podcast.